Welcome to the first chapter of the concrete mixer tutorial for the Construction Simulator 2015. So if you haven't seen one of the other tutorials by now, I recommend you go back to the crane tutorial, because all the basic functions of the Unity editor and of the vehicle, like hierarchy and stuff, is explained in that tutorial. So I'm not going deep into detail in this chapter, so I only show you what is needed for our mod right now. So let's import our 3D model and set all the positioning axes to 0. The model is prepared very well. All the moving parts are separated, like the drum wheel, the wheels and the duct. We want to move these parts, and you might have seen I just changed my pivot from global to local, so you are able to see that the drum is rotated into the correct position. So if you want to rotate the drum, you are able to rotate it around the correct axis, which is the z-axis. So if you don't check your global and local pivot settings, then you're not able to rotate the drum in the correct manner. If this isn't the case for your model, you can either go back to your 3D modeling software and change this, or you can go to our excavator tutorials, where I explained how to change this by creating another group. So let's get started. Delete the main camera and create our first empty game object, which will be the root vehicle. So this should have the name of our model. I call it KJB Mixer. Then we apply our first script to this, which is always the WB vehicle script. I collapse all the sections and we start from top to bottom. In the general settings, we have to choose the vehicle type. This time it's the truck, which is correct. And for this truck there will be a fill amount for our concrete, and this will be about 25 cubic meters. And that's all for the general settings. Inside the vehicle data settings, we choose a name for our vehicle, which will be shown inside the vehicle trader. Then the designer name is the tech name. If you build another version, you can change the version numbers or whatever you like inside here. Additional info and the vehicle cost, which I recommend to be at 1 as long as we haven't finished testing our mod. Inside the reference settings, we have to apply all the scripts for the main script, so the program knows where to find them. The vehicle control, the visuals. We don't have any interior for this model. The inputs and the sound, of course. Where to find the vehicle trigger, and once again the driving and component parent. And these two we will be creating right now. So we create another empty game object, call this component, duplicate it, and call the other one driving. So the component gets the component script, the WB vehicle component root, And for the driving section, we need all the other scripts you've seen in the reference settings section. So let's apply them and start with the vehicle control script. I'm sorry, I have to look that up. I'm sorry, no. First, we should apply a rigid body to our model, so the object will be able to move inside the game. And for the mass, I don't know the exact mass of this vehicle, so I think 1.32 will be okay. Change interpolate and be good. And then we start with the scripts. The first one is the vehicle input script, and the function group inside the base settings will have to be set to drive. This vehicle doesn't have any functions, so you don't have to change between or switch between drive and work mode, so everything should be in the function group drive. Then we change the priority to 20, the steering min and max speed. So this influences the steering. This speed influences the steering, so that's better. We activate inertia, change the factor to 0.75, autocorrect to something about 2, and leave the other settings. Okay, then we are done with the vehicle input script and move on to the next one, which will be the vehicle control script. There are much more things to do inside the script, so let's open up the base settings section and change the function group again to drive and the priority to 10. For the general section, we need a center of mass, so we have to create this. Use an empty game object inside the driving node, call it center of mass, drag and drop it into the section, and then we can give the center of mass the correct position. Should be a little lower, and it's not at the center. Oh, and I see I forgot the root. The KJB mixer should be on 0 as well. So now our center of mass is somewhere else. So let's push it back up a little bit to the front. Depends on if you have concrete loaded or not. But that's good for now. So let's move on and change our maximum speed of our truck. 120, I don't think this will be as fast. The traction mode this time is 4-wheel drive. So all the wheels give torque to the mod. And traction control and ABS are needed as well. Then we go on to the wheel section. The wheels that you see are not the wheels we need right now. We need physical wheels, so we have to create them. Let's make a new group for our wheel colliders. So let's call this group wheel collider and create our front axis inside the wheel collider folder. The front axis needs a script which is called WB anti-roll bar. There it is, WB vehicle anti-roll bar script. Function group, once again change this to drive, and here you can, or you have to drag in the corresponding wheel colliders for the front and left wheel, front left and right wheel, I'm sorry. But before we create the wheels, we better adjust the front axis and drag that to the correct position in the right scene view. So it's easier to put it into the right position, and then inside of the axis we can create the wheels, and so they will be at the correct position from the beginning. So another empty game object, call this front left wheel and apply the collider for this, which is inside the physics section, the wheel collider. Now you see this big green circle, which means the radius is much too big. You can just click and drag, and then we see that the position of the axis is not perfect. We can adjust that again, and now it's better. So the radius is 0.46. We leave the suspension distance as it is. And the next thing we need is the script for this, so the game knows this is our vehicle wheel, function group is again drive, and the other settings we leave them as they are. You can change them later after testing because of the skid marks width. And then our wheel is almost done. It's just not in the correct position, so let's go to the front view and then drag it to the wheel. Let's make it a round number and just type -1, and if you click on the wheel collider you are able to see it, and now it's in the correct position. For the right wheel we just duplicate the front left wheel, rename it to front right wheel, change the position from -1 to 1, and then it's on the correct spot, and all the other settings are applied as well. So now back to the anti-roll bar script. We are able to drag and drop the front left collider and front right collider to their corresponding slots, and our front axis is ready. We need the rear axis, so we just duplicate the whole front axis, rename it again to rear axis, and just drag it to the right position on the Z axis. So this seems to be correct. And of course we need to rename our rear wheels to RL and RR for rear left and rear right wheel. And the anti-roll bar script has been updated correctly. So we are finished with our front and rear axis, but there is a third axis for the sub wheels. Once again, just duplicate our axis and rename it to MR for middle rear axis, and the same thing for the wheels. Call them middle rear left wheel and middle rear right wheel. The wheels are different, so we don't need the vehicle wheel script for them. There is a special script for this called vehicle sub wheel script. Change the settings again, function group is drive. And I forgot to put it into the right position, so let's drag the axis forward, and then inside the vehicle subwheel we should reference wheels for our subwheel for the visuals. And as a reference we need the rear wheels, so for the middle rear left we choose the rear left wheel as a reference, and then on the rear right wheel, middle rear right wheel, we'll do the same thing and drag the rear right wheel into the reference slot. Okay, so the wheels are done, and we can go back to our driving node. Inside the vehicle control script, we can drag and drop the front and rear wheels into their corresponding slots. Okay, so we're almost through with the vehicle control script. Let's check the other values. We could leave them, just change maybe the motor force factor to 2. And so we've come quite far for the first chapter, and in the next chapter we'll have a look at the next scripts, which will be the visual wheels and the vehicle input and the sound script. No input, we are through only visuals and sound.